underneath the bridges as we've been going over them. Now, as we get closer, you're going to see that at the top, it's obviously a very old stone building. And then to the left of that, there's you can tell it's somewhat newer, but it's nicer. It's not quite as primitive looking. And then as you go down that crag, there's some beautiful Renaissance buildings. Now, there's a story behind all that architecture. Orava Castle started out life as a fortress. And a fortress is different than a castle. Now everybody should be able to see it, okay? Right there, about 1 or 2 o'clock. And we'll go by and you'll get some great shots on the side. But you see what I mean? See up at the very top? It's kind of it isn't very high, but then there's that building that's next to it on the left. And then as soon as we come around the corner, you'll see the beautiful Renaissance buildings coming down. People don't know the difference between a fortress, a castle, and a palace. And they have very different functions, but they really each had functions. See what I mean up there? Now, a fortress was a military establishment at the edges of the feudal lord's territory. In those days, they didn't have boundaries. They didn't think of it because they didn't have longitude and latitude. You had spheres of influence where you would put fortresses or camps, which was less permanent than a fortress, and that fortress would be on the edge of your sphere of influence, and you would put soldiers there, and they would make forays into the neighboring area, which would be ruled by somebody else, and they were seeing, were there troop movements? Were they trying to get something? What are their trade like? Is there a famine there? Is there anything that I can get that would interest my liege lord? So the fortress would not have women folk, typically, or maybe just 1 or 2, and there would be no village around the base of it. But once the sphere of influence had been extended,